Hi everyone, welcome back to my lab and today's video, which is going to be about all the beauty products that I purchased in January. I've got my list already on my iPad as well as all the items here. I've used absolutely everything except for one thing, which I think puts me in a pretty good position to give you, a little bit of a review on the products I bought. If you're new here, I'm Jody. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. If you do enjoy it, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see me again. For my returning YouTube friends, thank you so much for joining me again. Now let's go ahead and get into the video. So I started this project as a revision to a failed low buy, Operation Curation, a lot of things that I really wanted to set my mind to, but one of the good things that came out of it is that I have a log of every single beauty purchase I've made since January of 2023 and onward. So I'm carrying that on to this year. I'm trying to buy a house, which I've failed at miserably multiple times already. That's another story. But I like to kind of be conscious of what I'm bringing into my collection. My collection's already overwhelmingly large, and I really want to whittle it down to only the very, very best. So my very first purchase was on January 1st, and that was from Nordstrom. And that was this YSL Mini Clutch palette, and it is in the shade number 125. Here's what those colors look like. It's a very pretty rosy color story, and it is the palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today. So if you'd like to see how it looks applied, then here's an example. I used absolutely every shade except for this taupey one in my eye look today. I purchased the palette because it was listed as limited edition. These YSL Mini Clutch palettes started launching, I believe it was in 2024. I did pick up one of those. I think I have the one over Brune maybe. I forget the name of the one that I have, but the one that I do have, no, it's called Story Dolls. I really, really liked it. I wore it to a conference that I was presenting in, and it was a really nice look with just a special touch with that shimmery eyeshadow. I was expecting a similar result with this palette. However, I have to admit this was kind of a silly purchase for me. Firstly, because pinks and purples are never the eyeshadow colors I prefer to wear on my eyes. Also, I have a really, really extensive Pat McGrath collection, and I'm sure I can find these colors in her collection at similar or even better quality, especially where this little shimmery topper is concerned. The matte shades I found performed really well. They're not like Pat McGrath shadows in that they're really pigmented right away, but what I do like about them, and that is similar to the Pat McGrath palettes, is that when you're working with one of the colors, they're really self-blending. You can blend it out without having multiple layers of eyeshadow. So right now what you're seeing on my crease is really mostly this peachy shade over here, and I have the darker shade just along my lash line. And the only blending that I really did was of this shade, and you can see that from my eyelid upward, you have that gradient built with just a single color. So these eyeshadow palettes are really good quality. I just made a poor choice with the color story. And then the shimmery topper, whereas the one in Story Dolls is so beautiful and really impactful, I found that this one is just not the case at all. Here it is, just a very, very light swatch. Get a little more. Yeah, so here's a very, very light swatch. It's really just an iridescent with tiny, tiny micro sparkles. I put it on my hand. You can't even see it. I do have it on my eyes. I have it kind of on the outer third of my lid just for a little something. I also have it on the inner corner, and you can see it, but it's nothing special, honestly. So even with the fine quality, the color story is just not something I wanted. I really got caught into the hype of the unique packaging and the fact that it was limited edition, but it's not something I would necessarily recommend, and if I could do it over again, I would not purchase this. I made a second purchase on January 1st, and this one I knew was coming because it was Sonia G release and restock. So the first item that I picked up from Sonia G was the Mini Sheer Buffer. I shared this in my January favorites, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful brush. I love to use it for cream products. It picks up a variety of different formulas really well, and the size is really nice so that you can do a little more targeted application, but also diffuse if that's something that you like. I own all of Sonia G's brushes. I love them. I think they're incredible quality. I love the stories behind how she creates every single brush, and so every time she has a new release, I'm going to pick it up. And this was absolutely a wonderful addition to my collection. Like I said, it was in my January favorites video, and I do not regret this at all. I love it. I think it's great. I talked about it in that favorites video at length, so I'm not going to continue going on and on about it right now. And instead, I'll move on to the next purchase that I made, which was this Cranes over Mount Fuji holder. So this was the very first one. She has another holder that's a little more standard, for lack of a better word. Her creations are never standard, so I hate to use that term. But this one is exceptional because of the engraving that it has on it. Here's what that looks like up close. And it's just showing cranes flying over Mount Fuji. Here's the backside. It has her logo engraved into the wood. I wasn't able to pick up the brush holder when it first launched. I think it was 2 years ago now. It was just a different time in my life and I could not afford to make that purchase, especially when I was buying all of her brushes. So I'm really glad that she re-released this. And I think it might still be on the Beautylish website. It's an expensive item, but it is a handcrafted item. And you know, when you're purchasing something from her brand, you're receiving something that's ethically sourced, and the artists are treated with just absolute respect, and their work is truly honored in all of her pieces. So I'm really glad that I was able to make this purchase. As you can see, I have the mini Kiyaki collection stored in it because I think it's a perfect size for it. It's low enough that it's not going to interfere with any of the bristles. And then it's also a little bit narrow. I'm going to tilt it towards you here so you can see. So it's a little bit narrow, and it allows for such a pretty display of her mini Kiyaki brushes. I have all her mini Kiyaki brushes. They're not all in here because some of them are in use. And then you might see that I have doubles of some of them. Like, for instance, I have 2 of those. I have multiples in here. So I'm a very big fan. She's going to be releasing the Japanese Gardens one in March, and I'm absolutely saving up to buy that one. They're just so beautiful, and I plan to use that one for the larger brushes like this. I believe the compartments can be resized, and it's a little wider than this one as well. So absolutely do not regret this purchase. I love it. Now that I think of it, it should have been in my favorites video for sure. My next purchase was on January 3rd. My next purchase was shortly after that on January 3rd, and I placed an order on Bellabeautebar. Bellabeautebar is an indie brand, and they make mostly eyeshadow palettes, but I believe that they're expanding their range to other things. I've only ever tried their eyeshadow palettes, so I picked up Poison Garden, which is this palette here, and I have used this one. Here's what the outside looks like. And these are your shades. I used this one on a couple of occasions. I didn't film with it or anything. I was just using it on, my own time. And it's really, really nice quality. Their mattes are really great. They're really easy to blend, and the shimmers are really good. They have a variety of textures as well, but it's mostly those shimmers that kind of feel damp to the touch. I'll go ahead and swatch something for you. Let's see. This shade Wolfbane right here looks really nice, and it's a little bit of a holographic shade. It's just a single swipe swatch. So pretty, right? I haven't worn this one yet. It's got pink, like a silvery base to it, and holographic sparkles. Very, very pretty. Their palettes are a little bit more on the expensive side. The impetus for this purchase was that I was seeing this palette end up on everybody's yearly favorites. As I was tracking my purchases, I saw that my amounts went higher and higher and higher, November and December especially. But it's useful to learn those habits because then you know what to look out for. Either way, I absolutely do not regret purchasing this palette. It is really nice. I can see why a lot of people had it on their favorites, and their matte formula is really great as well. Very blendable, not too powdery, and I know most people will buy it because of the shimmers, but it's very nice quality. This purchase was also prompted by the restock of the Vamp palette. This one I have not used before, but this is what the packaging looks like. This is the one item that I did not get to use. Hopefully you can see here you have all of these white little protective coverings for the shimmery shades, which I think is a really, really nice touch. I went ahead and I took those off so that I can show you the palette itself and so you can see all the colors. This one I wanted because of this particular shade, Skin of a Killer. A lot of people were talking about that shade as a special shade, and even though they did stock it at one point as an individual shade for about $12 or so, they took it off their website or it was out of stock. And so even though this is not necessarily my color story, I went ahead and I purchased it. So let's go ahead and swatch that shade, Skin of a Killer, and then I also want to swatch this shade Undead, because that one seems a lot more in my wheelhouse. So Skin of a Killer is on my middle finger and Undead is on my pointer. They have that thick consistency to them. Skin of a Killer is a little bit lighter and then Undead is a little bit thicker. So let's go ahead and do Undead right here. Beautiful. And I'll do Skin of a Killer just below that. Beautiful swatches. To be perfectly honest, I'm more impressed with the shade Undead. It's got a beautiful blue to violet to like green shift to it. Oh my gosh, I need to wear that all over my lid. I'm more impressed with that than Skin of a Killer. And my fingers still have so much product left on them. Oh my gosh, look at that. I haven't used the palette yet aside from these swatches, so it's not really fair for me to say if I regret it or not. But based on my experience with the Poison Garden, I don't regret it. Based on these swatches, I don't regret it. It looks really nice. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to leave this one out so that I can try it really soon. But I went and I bought a whole bunch of palettes in February and it's going to take me a while to get through all of them. I made another purchase on the 3rd of January and that one was at Sephora and I purchased this shade from Urban Decay Cosmetics. This is one of their Moon Dust shadows and it is in the shade Diamond Dog. The Moon Dust shadows are like amongst the Urban Decay collection's most celebrated item. I really enjoy them, and this was a shade that was originally only available on the Urban Decay website. These days, it kind of takes a lot for me to make a purchase directly from a brand's website, just because, you know, there's always a higher cap for shipping. Since I don't purchase from them too often, then I don't rack up as many loyalty points as I would on Sephora or Ulta. Even though I knew that it was on the Urban Decay website, I didn't pick it up until it came on the Sephora and Ulta Beauty website. I have used this shadow as well. Here is a little swatch of it. Now, what I find as far as the Urban Decay Moon Dust shadows go, this one has a little bit of a stronger base. You can see that compared to the Bellabeautebar, it's a little bit of, it's more of a smooth formula, a lighter formula. With the Bellabeautebar shades, I have worn some of the shimmers on my eyes before, and I do find I have to use a sticky base to prevent them from creasing on my oily eyelids. But anyway, with the Moon Dust shade, it's really nice. It's a very nice neutral brown application. It's a great one and done eyeshadow, but if you're used to the Space Cowboy shade, then just be aware that this one has a lot more of that base color. It's going to give you more impact than just a mere topper shade. Very beautiful. My next purchase was from Amazon, and this is something I actually could have bought on the Sephora website, but everything was out of stock, and it is one of these Edam lip balms. So I picked up the shade Boba Bounce. I think that's what the shade is. It's labeled Le Chouchou Lip Softening Balm. And I picked this one up on Amazon because I was telling my daughter how much I love the Ole Henriksen lip balm, and I was also talking crap about the Summer Fridays lip balms because they're good, but they're not all that. Like, people act like they are the be-all and end-all, and I just don't think so. I like the Ole Henriksen, and even after trying this one, I still prefer the Ole Henriksen. So this is one of those that has that cooling tip, and I have to admit, just like my daughter said, it feels so good going on the lips. This one has a very nice kind of sheer tint. I'll put a little bit right here so you can see the color. It's just a tiny, tiny bit. Let me see. There's a small swatch of it. It's kind of like a berry fig kind of color, I would say. And what I was telling my daughter about it is a petty reason for not enjoying it as much. But once I see the applicator just gets so messy, look. That's just from a teeny tiny swatch that I did. I don't like that. And I always feel the need to clean it off so that it looks nice and new again. I just don't like my makeup to get messy. It kind of takes away from the enjoyment of applying it. And so for that reason, I still prefer the Ole Henriksen ones because the applicator does not reveal the messiness. I'm glad I got to try it because everybody was making a big fuss about these on their yearly favorites as well. I think they're very nice, cooling, hydrating. They last on the lips quite well. But if I were going to make a recommendation, it would be for the Ole Henriksen ones. I've only tried the strawberry, I think it's called strawberry cream, and I guess I got the right flavor on the right try. It's the only one I've bought because I'm still working my way through it, and I've got tons of these lip balms. But if I ran out, Of all my lip balms, that's definitely where I would. So I can't say I regret it, but I'm also not over the moon with it. This one was just okay. If you've tried all these lip balms, I'd love to know what your favorite is and why. My next purchase was on January 9th, and this was from Colourpop, and this was something that I knew I was going to purchase as well. It was 2 pieces from the Twilight New Moon collection, and I bought them directly from the Colourpop website because Colourpop launched them first. I knew that they were going to be coming to Ulta, but I wasn't sure if they were going to release the multi-chrome shadow sticks on Ulta. And also it was going to be like a full 2 weeks later, I would say. And so I figure I just ordered directly from Colourpop. The Colourpop Twilight collection was really delayed in getting to me. I believe because of all the wildfires going on in Los Angeles, which is 1000% understandable. No complaints out of me. So the palette I used as well. It's really nice. I really like the packaging. Here's that packaging for you. Really pretty. Really has the vibes of the movie. And here are the shades. It's more of a neutral palette, but a little bit intense as well. I noticed that if I was going for a more everyday look, it almost always got a little bit darker than I intended, but everything was performing really well. I think that this is just a really nice formula from Colourpop. Even though I haven't used every single shade, the ones that I have, I'm really happy with. The other item from the collection that I picked up was the multi-chrome eyeshadow stick, and I mentioned in my favorites video how much I liked it. Here's a swatch of it again. Really nice, super creamy, very easy to use. You could just draw it right on, blend it out with a brush, gives you just enough playtime so that you can get the shape you want or the blending that you want, and then it stays all day. Really liked it. This was also my favorites video. My next purchase was on January 15th, and it was from Sephora. I did have a $15 reward card, so I spent a little bit less than I would have ordinarily. And what I picked up was one of these YSL blushes. I did share this in my favorites video for the month as well. Here's what that one looks like. I picked it up in the shade number 44, Nude Lovely. Everybody's talking about these blushes. The packaging is so cute. Here's your packaging and the blush itself. Such a cute item. It's so expensive. My goodness, these retail for $45. Wow. So I took advantage of my Sephora reward. That was credit card reward. So I use a Sephora credit card to buy whatever purchases I make from Sephora and then pay it off at the end of the month. But I do collect rewards for the credit card use, and so I applied it to that. No regrets from that one. I'm tempted to buy more, but like I said, it's so that I can try the matte formula since this is one of the satin formulas. And then also because the packaging is so cute. Really like that one. Really happy with it. And then the other one was a cream bronzer from Simi Hayes Beauty. And this was something that I'd seen on a couple of people's channels. I think I saw Tanya B. Wells and a couple of other people use it. So I picked up the Skin Suede Melting Bronze Balm, and I bought mine in the shade Cedar too. This is one of those things that were out of stock for a really long time. Suddenly it came back in stock and then it disappeared off the website. I think it's still available on the brand's website. It's really interesting the way that it opens. Like it's really just a screw top, but you have to get it just right. There it goes. So that's what it looks like. Here's the outer lid. It kind of looks like a digital symbol or something. This is the cream bronzer that I'm wearing on my skin today, but I'm also wearing the Dior contour stick and the foundation stick. One of you actually recommended to try it with the Merit, the Great Skin. And I have to say, it does look better. I still don't love it. That was in my feels last video. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. I just wanted to let you know that I do appreciate your recommendation, and I think it looks better today. With the bronzer, this is a very nice cream formula. Now, I find that it gets a little softer as you kind of warm it up with your hands. But the nature is that I kind of just dip my brush in there and I let it kind of melt onto my skin. So let me get a swatch here. So here's a swatch of that shade. I like it because it's a very neutral color. And then when you blend it out, it does blend out and softens quite a bit. So I find that that's one of those bronzers that doesn't pull too warm. It doesn't pull too cool. It's a really interesting formula, and I'm glad to try it out. The packaging is really interesting. I don't think you get a lot of products, so I think it's like 4.1 grams of product. Really interesting. This is the only thing I have from Simi Hayes Beauty, and I was so curious about it, so no regrets with this one either. I can't say I love it just yet. I think this is my my third time wearing it. I think it does look good. So far so good with this one. I made a second purchase on the 15th of January, and that was a pre-order for the Wayne Goss, the collector's edition brushes. I'm really happy I got these. This was the impetus for my return to YouTube. I've made a lot of content around these already, and you all responded really favorably to it, so I really appreciate that. They're very pricey, but I do collect Fude, and I can't regret them. I think that they are absolutely wonderful. There's some brushes that I love more than others, but again, I've made tons of content around these already, but I did purchase them in January. I think that they were held up at customs or something, so even though I ordered on launch, I didn't get them until quite a while later. I don't remember exactly when, but by now I've been using it for about a month. I've washed them. I've used them with a variety of products, and 2 thumbs up from me. I absolutely love them. On January 24th, I made my next purchase, and that was from Adept Cosmetics. I love Adept Cosmetics, and they remastered their Minka palette. This is what it looks like. And here are your shades. I did already share some content around the Minka palette already as well. I demoed it. I used it when I was demoing the collector's edition brushes in one of my previous videos, and I really like it. I've created 3 looks with this palette already, and I think it's so much fun. I mean, these are definitely all about the shimmers. These are really blingy, really bright. They are going to be like special occasion, evening shimmers and things like that. So beautiful. There's really no way to get a subtle look out of this unless you're using only the mattes. And even though the mattes are really nice, my one complaint is that no matter what, your matte shadows are going to look purple. I tried creating a look using this Ariana shade here, and even when I used that one, my look, the crease colors, they still pulled purple. So I would have liked to have seen some variety here where you can have some mauvey ones, like at least swap one of these 2 for a more pure brown color so that when you mix it with the shade Ariana, you get a true neutral. That would have been a big improvement in my opinion. The only other complaint I mentioned in that video is that my top doesn't stay open. I don't know what that's all about. It's a little bit heavy, but the shimmers are so special, and it's really what the palette is all about. Really glad I have this one too. If you haven't tried Adept Cosmetics, this is not a bad place to start. These shimmers, they're a little bit thicker than, for example, what they might have on the plain Jane palette and some of their more recent palettes. These are a lot more blingier. Those palettes can be a little more wearable. So it really depends on what you're looking for. If you like the bling bling, then this is a great place to start. But I also think that this is also their more unique formula. Their other shimmers can be a little bit thinner, but still very, very glittery on the eye. And I believe that they don't use any actual glitter, so that's also really good about the brand as well. It's probably going to make another appearance in my February favorites video, but since I bought it towards the end of the month, I wanted to have more time with it to get to know it a little bit better. Same situation for my final purchase in January, which was January 27th. And that was when I pre-ordered the Sonia G and Shikuhiro collab. Oh my goodness, what to even say about these. What a special collaboration between Sonia G and Shikuhiro. These brushes are spectacular. The packaging was spectacular. Every last detail in the collaboration was spectacular. My mother would probably say the price is probably pretty spectacular too. But I love it. Like, just holding it brings me so much joy. And again, even though I have been using these, I bought them at the end of January. I think they got to me right at the beginning of this month. And so I would look for these to make an appearance in an upcoming video as well. There's 3 brushes in the collection, and they are just fantastic. I highly recommend that you visit her blog and read the story about how this collaboration came about. It's just lovely. I'll put a link to it in the description box so that you can check it out. It consists of an eyeshadow brush, and these have special names actually. This smaller, softer brush, oh my gosh, it feels so good. To touch up underneath the eyes, to powder a little bit. Oh, it's so wonderful. I've also used it for highlighter. You can also use it for blush. And then the larger brush, which I believe this one is an exact replica of some of the brushes that Shikuhodo makes. I believe I'm speaking correctly. But look at this shape. It's like a teardrop shape. I think this is so nice for sculpting the face. I've used it with my YSL bronzer, and I can really get a nice application. I've also used it for finishing powder because the minute that you press the brush against your skin, then it becomes more domed and you can really do a beautiful final buff. Oh my gosh, so soft, so beautiful, so beautiful. I love it so much. Look at the detail in this handle. That is actually the name of the brush. She packaged it with a beautiful microfiber cloth, which is great so that you can clean off your brush after you use it and reuse it again, so you don't have to wash them so frequently. Just divine. Divine. I love them so much. I can say that now since I've had them for about a month, but they're just so stunning. You know, where Wayne Goss is very succinct and doesn't give you a lot of information about his collections, Sonia G tells you everything you wanted to know and then some. So again, I'll leave her blog link down below so you can check it out. So now that I've shown you everything, I can kind of get to my bottom line. I've obviously put the prices on the items, so you're going to have a ballpark figure of how much I spent, but I also include any shipping costs, taxes, any cost incurred in purchasing these products. I do account for it. One thing that I noticed when tracking my purchases for the last 2 full years and continuing into this one is that some things break the bank and break it quickly. Like, for example, collections such as this one, it's just kind of outside the budget of where I'd like to be. Even the Sonia G collab, you know, also pricey. The brush holder, also pricey. So those things add up really, really quickly, but I consider these more of investment pieces and ones that I'm going to pass on to my daughter. So the makeup is kind of what I'm keeping track of mostly this year. And in makeup, I spent $448 with 36 cents. Looking at my totals, that is an improvement over what I did in 2024. And in 2024, I was including brush purchases and things like that. So it's a little bit less of a comparison because of the modification in those tools. But like I said, I think I have really good reasoning for removing the tools and kind of keeping track of those separately. I do use them here on my channel, so I wanted to showcase them as part of my January haul. It's just kind of what's working for me right now, what makes more sense for me. I'd like to do a little bit better. January is a long month. It's also a dangerous month in terms of, again, coming off of everybody's December favorites. I'm so readily influenced by some of my favorite creators' favorites videos. And the Bellabeautebar and the Edam lip balm are perfect examples of that. On the other side, there were not too many launches in January. You know, I'm seeing now that the releases are starting to pick up in terms of spring releases, and so that's starting a danger zone. I have started my tracking for February, and I would love to share it with you if this is something that you enjoy watching. Please do keep in mind that I'm not trying to brag in this video whatsoever. This is just the way that I treat myself. You know, some people like to go on a lot of vacations, some people like to go out to eat at restaurants, some people like to take different kinds of classes, and I like to treat myself to some makeup so that I can sit in my little room over here and film YouTube videos. It does bring me a lot of joy, and so to me, it's worth it. That being said, I will leave links to all of the products that I shared with you today in the description box. Those are monetized links that do give me a little bit of a kickback if you choose to use them. I'm not at all encouraging you to shop. If you're on a low buy, stay strong, stay strong. Watch videos of people showcasing the older products that are still in your collection because, you know, they may not be on your recommended feed, but you can still definitely use the YouTube search features and look up that old palette. And you'll have tons of looks that you can use for inspiration for enjoying your own collection. However, if you do choose to shop and purchase anything that I recommend, I do appreciate if you use those links. My channel isn't monetized right now, so that would be one of the only ways in which my channel would get any kind of kickback. So those are down there if you'd like to use them. If not, your thumbs up, your comments, your subscriptions are all wonderful, wonderful ways to support me, and I really appreciate you and the time that you take to do that. So we finally made it through this video. Phoebe and Freddie have finally stopped barking right when I'm finished filming. Because of course, how else would it be? Thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your day with me. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. on my next one. Bye-bye.